Okay, we're going to try this. So welcome, and I'm sorry for that. You know, when I think of technical issues, I always think of whoever that was that says it's always something. So I apologize for our technical glitches this morning, but I am very glad you're here at our One World Spiritual Center online Sunday gathering. Thank you so much for making the decision to spend the next few minutes just being with us and sharing this experience. And again, I apologize for the technical stuff at the beginning. So one of the things I want to say at the beginning is after every gathering, we do have a Zoom fellowship on our One World Zoom link. If you're interested in talking to other community members, checking in, seeing how things are going. I know we are in a transition period, so you may want to share some feelings and thoughts about that. So please just don't hesitate to jump on at the end of the gathering onto our Zoom fellowship. If you need the link, please email me at info@oneworldspiritualcenter.net, and yes, I will get it, or call us and we will send you the link. So today we have some I hope I have some interesting thoughts for you. What I'm going to talk about is approaching the sacred, approaching the holy. And my topic really is the qualities of mind and heart that we bring to that journey. And it's really a discussion of the qualities of mind and heart we bring to encountering all aspects of our lives, because we can find the holy pretty much everywhere we look, depending on the intention we bring to it. We also are going to have the opportunity to pray together, to hold each other in prayer. We're going to hear a little bit about what our kids are doing. I have some announcements for you. I'm very excited. Next week, our speaker, okay, I'm giving the jump on the announcements. Our speaker next week is going to be Iyabo Onapede. We love to have Iyabo here, so please be sure to join us for that. So as we begin, let's just do what we do every week and simply take a breath and just be willing to be here in this moment. with all others who are listening or watching to this online stream right now. Just take a breath. And as you do, let your awareness just come to this right now. If your Sunday is anything like mine, there's so much busyness. And let's just make the decision for right now to set it aside and simply to be here with each other. Even though we are remote, our energies are still joined, and we still are the beloved community that we are. So let's take a breath and just be glad and be grateful to be here right now. So as we begin, I'd like to share a beautiful prayer with you. It's called a prayer for community, and it's an adaptation from a prayer from the Jewish tradition, from the Jewish liturgy. So I invite you to listen. For cities and towns, factories and farms, flowers and trees, sea and sky, we give thanks for the world and its beauty. For family and friends, neighbors and cousins, we give thanks for friendship and love. For kind hearts, smiling faces, and helping hands, we give thanks for those who care for others. For wisdom that teaches us how to live, we give thanks for those who help us to understand how to live in peace and in wholeness. And for making us one family on earth, the children of one God, we give thanks to God, who made all people different, yet alike. So many things that we have to be grateful for. Sometimes it's great to just think about them. So my talk today is entitled Where You Are, which is kind of a broad topic. I love these broad topics because as I'm preparing the talk, I can pretty much go either way. But this one is about that. It's about where you are. So there's a cartoon that I really like. It's from the New Yorker that pretty much capsulizes the topic of this talk. So what it is these two monks are sitting and they're preparing to meditate. There's a younger one and there's an older one. And so the younger one is sitting there and he says to the older one, so what's next? What happens? What's next? And the older one says to him, nothing else happens next. This is it. This is it. Right here and right now. So we talked a while back about the doorways we can use in our lives to experience the holy, those moments of connection, of awakening, those moments of awe and of wonder. I know you have had those moments and you know what I'm talking about. We talked about how we can see the sacred all around us in every aspect of our lives. It just depends on the intention and the awareness and the gratitude that we bring to it. It depends on our awareness of the fact that this is it, of being here right now. So as I was preparing this talk, I kept thinking about a poem by Rumi, the 13th century Persian poet and Sufi mystic, who wrote about approaching the sacred. I'd like to share it with you. It's not a long poem. This is what he wrote. Today, like every other day, we wake up empty and frightened. Don't open the door to the study and begin reading. Take down a musical instrument. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. I got to tell you, that's got to be one of my favorite poems. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. So what did he mean by that? Okay, I will tell you what I think he meant. When the Prophet Muhammad in the 7th century was establishing the faith tradition of Islam, and he was working to spread awareness of the insights he was getting that ultimately became the Holy Quran. He confronted an Arab population that in his view was corrupt, was arrogant, and was just completely missing the point. He despaired until he ultimately realized that he had to teach his growing community that the proper mindset in which one approached the holy, in which one approached the wonderful, was humility. It was simple humility. So to do this, he introduced physical prostration, which was not part of the tradition then. His followers had to kneel and place their forehead and noses against the ground. That physical movement, and I know you've felt that, that physical movement changes the energy of approaching the sacred. They had to humble themselves physically and it looked like they were kneeling and kissing the ground in worship. I think Rumi was telling us that there are hundreds of ways to experience the presence of God. And when you do, the energy with which you do it is always an act of worship. It's an act of wonder. It's an act of gratitude. I don't see how it could be otherwise. So I'd like to talk today about who we are as we make this journey, not only to what we identify as the sacred, but to all aspects of our lives, realizing as we do that we can find the holy in all of it. Specifically, what qualities of mind and heart do we bring to this journey? What do we cultivate within ourselves to enrich this journey? How do we move from being empty and frightened to letting the beauty we love be what we do? So the resource I used primarily for this talk was Pema Chodron's The Wisdom of No Escape, which is a great book title, The Wisdom of No Escape. Her book was based on a series of talks she gave at a meditation retreat at Gampo Abbey, in Nova Scotia. So these meditation students were there for a month on an isolated, windy hillside in Nova Scotia. They had gotten there, they were dropped off. There was no place to go. There was no way out. There was no escape. They were going to meditate for a month, or they were just going to have to sit and wait for the bus. There was no way out of it. She told them to use that fact, to use that there was no getting away from that experience to enrich the experience, even though it would be challenging for many of them. They had to be there in that experience, in all of it. There was no choice. So what's the parallel for us? In our own lives, the richness we find comes from stopping our attempts to be somewhere else, to move away from ourselves, from that moment we would rather avoid. There is no escape. If you are like me, and I always assume everyone's like me, I probably shouldn't, but in any event, the way we address this discomfort so often is to try to fix it. Why? Because we're a bunch of fixers. We think there is something lacking to make us feel this discomfort. And if we read this book, if we get that DVD, if we download this program or go to this workshop, it will start to fix us. Pema Chodron points out that this consistent dissatisfaction with who we are and with where we are is what she calls a subtle form of aggression against who we are. It's a subtle form of violence against being who we are. We focus on fixing. We focus on what we perceive is wrong. We don't focus on knowing, on unwrapping what is in us. What we forget, I think, is that the universe in its divine wisdom has given us all we need right here, and we just keep looking elsewhere because we don't want to look here. There's a story of Spanish explorers several hundred years ago sailing up to the coast of what is now Brazil to the mouth of the Amazon River. Okay, so the wind dies and they were becalmed. Weeks passed and they ran out of fresh water. They were parched with thirst and they believed that death was near. So one day several boats come up piloted by natives of those waters. The sailors yelled down, "Please give us water. We need fresh water. We are dying of thirst." Why am I laughing? The natives called back, "What is wrong with you? Just let your buckets over the side. You are sitting in fresh water." The truth is that we are in fresh water already, and all we need to do is wake up to that fact. The world's scriptures tell us this. In the Christian scriptures and what we call the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says, you are the light of the world. He doesn't say you are the light if you are rich, if you are thin, if you're a Republican or a Democrat or a college graduate with a nice house and a good job. Next year, when you get it all together, then you'll be the light. That's not what he says. He says right now and right here, you are the light. It is your very essence. Find it, unearth it. It's there. But how do we realize this? How do we start to regard ourselves as the light of the world right here and right now? As you sit here listening to me, do you feel that you are the light of the world? I'm not sure I do. It's a hard thing to grasp, but it's the truth. How do we start to feel that we have that light within, that we are that light within, instead of a project in constant need of a fix? So in much of Buddhist practice, this awakening comes with a sense of compassion for all life, for all beings. It comes from a sense of opening our hearts to compassion. The first step on the road to opening your heart to others starts with compassion for yourself, with loving kindness toward yourself. That's why in that meditation practice, you start with a loving kindness meditation for yourself. And then you go for folks you know, for folks you know barely, for folks you don't like, for folks in the entire world, for all beings. And that's a hard progression. Starting with yourself is a hard progression. You can spend an entire year or more on a loving kindness meditation just for yourself and still not have it sink in. So in our book discussion last week, we're having a wonderful time reading Marcus Borg's, I'm looking at it, The God We Never Knew. And we were talking about compassion. We were talking about the process of awakening compassion, which is so foundational to the spiritual life. Borg had this to say about it. If spirituality, a life of relationship with the Spirit of God, does not lead to compassion, then either it is life in relationship to a different spirit, or there is a lot of static in the relationship. The absence or presence of compassion is the central test for discerning whether something is of God. As the primary gift of the Spirit, compassion is the primary sign of spiritual growth. One of my favorite sentences in that is, if it does not lead you to compassion, then either it is life in relationship to a different spirit, or there is a lot of static in the relationship. Compassion is the primary gift of the spiritual life. Pema Chodron teaches that the point of our spiritual practice is to befriend ourselves, to develop compassion and love for ourselves. When we can do that, and we can do it fully and completely, we learn to befriend others and the world around us. The vehicle to develop compassion for all, to see the holy in all, to see our connection to all, is first to see it in yourself, just as you are. That is not easy. We befriend ourselves with a gentle curiosity and open-heartedness, without running away from what we might find, without fear, because the experience can be very uncomfortable. Many of us seem to believe, if our actions are any indication, that the goal of our life is to avoid discomfort. Think about that in your own life. How much of a driver is your wish to avoid discomfort? It's a driver for me, my wish to avoid discomfort. It feels bad. If it feels bad, we think we must be doing something wrong. We do whatever it takes until that feeling is gone. We are surrounded by so many distractions. We turn on this for the millionth time in an hour. We pick up other distractions. We look at other digital devices. We pick up an activity. We do anything not to simply be with ourselves, not to simply be where you are. I see that with so many people who say that they can't meditate. We've all been there. I just can't sit still for 10 or 15 minutes or 5 minutes. What is it that we are saying? It's not that our schedule is too busy. I can sit and doom scroll the news on the internet for 30 minutes, but I can't sit with myself for 10 minutes. What is it that's going on here? What we're saying is I can't sit with myself and feel that discomfort for 10 minutes or 5 or 15, doesn't much matter. The feeling is discomfort, and we are trained to avoid that at all costs. We abandon any activity that makes us feel uncomfortable. So what happens when we do that? What are we losing when we do that? We never learn what is on the other side of that discomfort. In other words, we never learn what awarenesses we might have, what growth we might have, if we can sit through that discomfort and simply see what it feels like to be on the other side. Pema Chodron has a very simple direction for beginning meditators. She uses the word stay. She simply says stay. And sometimes when I'm meditating and it's 8 minutes, time to get up, and I just have something to do, I just say to myself, stay. And it makes all the difference. When we are able to understand all that stuff that is beyond the discomfort bubbling to the surface, what a gift it is when that peace moves in, when we feel that change instead of simply running away. The discomfort you feel is as much a part of you as is all the good and the happy and the juicy stuff you feel when things are going well. You can say yes to that part of yourself, but not to the part that leads down the uncomfortable path. You are creative energy, and some is what you label good, and some is what you label more negative, but it's all in the mix together. The example she gives is a person who's angry. We don't necessarily like that she's angry, stay away from her. But what is it also showing us? That person has real energy, real feeling. That is an attribute that might be helpful. There is something else there than just being angry. Just as you are the source of all the juiciness, you are also the source of all the discomfort. That is what we need to know. The way to get past these moments is to exercise loving kindness, what in the Buddhist tradition is called Maitri, toward all of yourself. We welcome all of ourselves exactly where we are. We make the choice to regard ourselves, and as we do so, to remain in a loving space. So how does that look? It means that we sit in this present moment, in this right now, whatever is happening, and we exercise gentle curiosity and friendliness toward ourselves. If we are uncomfortable, we stay, we breathe, we observe how it is we feel. She's teaching a meditation practice, but it extends to other circumstances and other moments in your life. For me, if I'm in an uncomfortable situation, a distressing situation, what I do, or what I try to do, because it's all about just continuing to try, is take a step back and realize that there is discomfort, there is anxiety, or a tightness somewhere in my body. So what do? I breathe, and I just try to observe it. I say, there's a tightness in my chest, there's a tightness in my stomach, and I observe the quality of how that feels as clearly as I can. I don't run from it. And if I'm doing it right, I don't try to distract myself from it. That's the time that I most constructively deal with it. When I can sit with it and breathe through it, what happens? It passes. And a feeling of peace and a feeling of calm and a feeling of understanding comes at the end. It's not easy, but if we do it on the other side, there's an openness and a peace that can arrive. The secret is to continue to exercise loving kindness toward yourself without judgment. We tend to be so stern with ourselves. We're so much harder on ourselves than we are on others. So Pema Chodron tells the story of when she was a beginning meditator. So she goes to her teacher and she confesses that she is a complete and utter failure. She is the world's worst meditator. Instead of having visions and amazing realizations and opening up and finding peace and touching her deeper consciousness and all that stuff we're supposed to do, she would just sit and sit and sit and nothing would happen. Her thoughts were uncontrollable, her stress was increasing, and she was sure that she was doing something profoundly wrong, or there was something profoundly wrong with her. So she goes and tells all this to her teacher. Her teacher told her that her doubt indicated that she was doing it right. He said that what would concern him more was if she came up, or as other students had done, came up and said, "Oh my God, that was amazing. I sat for 5 minutes and I saw all of eternity. It was just fabulous. I cannot tell you how my life has changed." That person is arrogant. That person is probably not paying attention and is not doing the practice as it should be done. We have to just be accepting in a loving way toward ourselves where we are. So she identifies 3 elements that she encourages her students to develop as they work on cultivating this loving kindness attitude toward themselves. These elements are precision, gentleness, and letting go. Precision, gentleness, and letting go. So what do we mean by that? First, precision. It means seeing clearly what is happening, not judging ourselves, not loading it up with all your assumptions and your fears and your conclusions about what it might be. Just being open to look clearly at what is going on. I think when we start trying to do that, we may not be so great at it, but with practice, we get better. We just see clearly what is going on with ourselves. We see ourselves and our attitudes clearly. Until we know how we work, and what causes us to behave the way we do, we are unable to release those behaviors that are not useful to us. We are not encouraged to see these things. We're encouraged to avoid feeling discomfort, avoid feeling pain. These emotions are bad. They are not bad. They are you. They are information. Your emotions are giving you a gift. They are telling you how you feel. Gentleness is a quality that moderates the precision. If we were not gentle, our approach might be mechanistic, it might be cold. Instead, we moderate it with this attribute of the heart. We approach ourselves softly and gently. Working together, our gentleness enables us to see with precision. We are kind toward ourselves. Even when it's so hard, we are kind toward ourselves. And the third is letting go. This is the result of working with gentleness and precision. When we are clear about what is going on, when we regard ourselves with gentleness and loving kindness, letting go is the result. We don't work at it or concentrate at it. It simply happens. When we see ourselves clearly through the lens of the heart, the walls we have built around us fall because they are no longer needed to protect us. We are free from that illusion. We do not need that protection anymore. They fall and we are able to see and experience the wonder that is all around us. We are also, in addition to the wonder, we are also able to see and share in the heartbreak, the pain of others, the pain that our growing compassion helps us hold without paralyzing ourselves. That is part of the gift. Just imagine experiencing the world without the walls we have built. It's a mind-blowing concept. Just imagine experiencing this beautiful and tragic and lovely and broken world without the walls that we have built. Pema Chodron writes, "Our life's work is to use what we have been given to wake up." We have been given so much, and all of it is an opportunity to wake up, step outside those walls, and simply be in the wonder of it all. Let's not waste any more time. Let's take these opportunities to use what we have been given to wake up. So thank you for listening. Those are my thoughts today as we just move forward, as we move forward in our lives, as we move forward to awakening to the wonder and the beauty that is all around us. So what I'd like to do now is take this opportunity to move into our prayer time. This is our time when we just have a few moments to reflect together, to open our hearts together, to be gentle and loving with ourselves and each other, and our community and our world, just to spread our light and our love out to a world in need. So I invite you, take a breath, shifting your awareness from your busy mind down to your heart space, and just be willing to sit and be with each other for a few moments as we reflect, as we pray together. Breathing in, breathing out. Mother, Father, God, we are grateful for this right now, for the beauty, the wonder, and the opportunity all around us. May we see it. May we step into it. May part of our journey be our joyful service to each other, lifting each other up, supporting each other where there is need, and being grateful for all of it, opening our hearts with love and compassion. We are so grateful for the opportunity to be here right now, to be the voice and the feet and the hands of the holy in this world. be with us as we move forward. And so it is. And together we say, Amen. So I'd like to just take a few minutes, and as we do every week, just give everybody listening or watching an opportunity to simply be in the silence, keeping in your awareness your own beloved, those who may be in need of healing, those who are on a difficult journey. It may be yourself, a situation that is coming up, a circumstance you cannot figure out, a challenge you are facing. Let's just take the next few minutes and hold those people, those circumstances in our hearts, releasing them to the power of the One, knowing that we are heard and strengthened and sustained. Thank you, sweet Spirit, for the love and the light that surrounds us all at all times. Send our beloved healing. May they be well. For those challenges we face, for those horizons over which we cannot see, we know that we do not approach them alone. We release our cares, our concerns to you, knowing that even though we can see no way, you know the way, and walk it with us. And we widen our circle to include not only those we know, but all those beloved whom we don't know and who we will never meet. We widen the circle to include all beings. May all find healing. May all be protected. May those who suffer from war, from violence, hunger, fear, oppression, or want, may they be sustained. May they find caregivers. May we know how to be those caregivers. May the hearts of all be opened in compassion. May we see that violence is not the way, that our beloved community can be created only when we lift each other up, when the consciousness of peace and love spreads and takes hold in all places and in all hearts. May all be well. May all be protected and uplifted. And so it is. And together we say, Amen. So I'd like to close out our prayer time with a prayer by the early 20th century Sufi poet and mystic Hazrat Inayat Khan called In One Family. So I invite you to listen. Send thy peace, O Lord, which is perfect and everlasting, that our souls may radiate peace. Send thy peace, O Lord, that we may think, act, and speak harmoniously. Send thy peace, O Lord, that we may be contented and thankful for thy bountiful gifts. Send thy peace, O Lord, that amidst our worldly strife we may enjoy thy bliss. Send thy peace, O Lord, that we may endure all, tolerate all in the thought of thy grace and mercy. Send thy peace, O Lord, that our lives may become a divine vision, and in thy light all darkness may vanish. Send thy peace, O Lord, our Father and Mother, that we, thy children on earth, may unite in one family. Amen. That our lives may become a divine vision. I love that. And in thy light, all darkness may vanish. So thank you. So right now, I would like to thank you again, be grateful again for all your support and all your efforts on behalf of One World. This is our opportunity for our gifts and tithes and offerings in support of One World. We really appreciate it. We know that we are in a transitional time, but we are still so grateful for the support that you give as we continue to bring you the programs that we bring you this Sunday morning, our Wednesday evening book discussions, our community circles, our morning meditation, our kids program, whatever it is. We still depend on your support, and we are so grateful for your commitment and your vision and your help. Thank you so much. If you wish to give to One World, we have a button on our website. It's under our giving tab. You'll see a donate button. We also gratefully accept PayPal and Tithely or checks, whatever works. We are very grateful for your continued support. We dedicate these gifts and we bless them to the continued work of One World. Thank you so much. So for announcements, I'm looking down at my phone. I am not avoiding the moment. What I'm doing is I'm looking for what Reverend Rebecca said the kids were talking about. I'm going to talk about that in a second. In terms of announcements, I've already given the big one, which is next week our speaker is Iyabo Onipede. Please join us for that. We're going to be online again at 11 o'clock. And so please join us for that. We are having our community circles, our book discussion group on Wednesday at 7, and that is chapter 6. So please read that. So I have found what Reverend Rebecca tells me. So this is what our kids are doing. Sorry, I took this out of order. So today, Sunday, is the last day for the Faculty of Understanding. This month in July, they have been looking at understanding. She says the topic will be understanding our natural, spiritual talents, gifts, and abilities. That's wonderful. Natural talents are the gifts of God, universe, or spirit. Natural talents are abilities that are part of who you are. They may be artistic talents, intelligence, physical strength, organizing ability, and so on. They are something that is innate, part of us. Understanding our spiritual purpose in this universe is foundational to our understanding of who we are and that we are manifestations of the holy. So many thanks to Reverend Rebecca for that, for all the creativity and the joy and the wisdom she brings to our kids program. Many thanks also to our kids who participate and bring their own wisdom and humor and just zest for life and creativity to our kids program. So as we close, I want to remind you again that we have fellowship after our gathering. So I invite you to jump on the Zoom for that. And I'd like to close with a prayer by Shantideva, who was a Buddhist sage, 700 CE or so. It is the Bodhisattva prayer for humanity. I am told that this is the prayer that His Holiness the Dalai Lama recites every morning. It's a beautiful prayer. So I invite you to listen as we close out. May I be a guard for those who need protection, a guide for those on the path, a boat, a raft, a bridge for those who wish to cross the flood. May I be a lamp in the darkness, a resting place for the weary, a healing medicine for all who are sick, a vase of plenty, a tree of miracles. And for the boundless multitudes of living beings, may I bring sustenance and awakening, enduring like the earth and sky until all beings are freed from sorrow and all are awakened. And so it is. So thank you. So many blessings. Have a wonderful week. I hope to see you on our Zoom fellowship or at any of our events in the coming week. Have a wonderful week, and thank you so much for joining us.